Good day, my name's David Miedema and I'm making this video for the Remote Chess Academy. Today's topic is an introduction to our course on the Grunfeld defense, which arises after the moves d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3 and d5. I still recall the first time when I faced the Grunfeld when I was white. It was in an internet game and I was just amazed by I mean, I couldn't believe the stupidity of my opponent. How can you give the center away like that? I mean, you get the complete center for free. So I immediately played c takes d5, knight takes d5, e4, knight takes c3 and b takes c3. Look at my center. I mean, look at it. It's impressive. And naturally I thought that my position was close to winning. And yeah, so it's quite funny that when you recall that after 20 moves I lost the d4 pawn and I lost the game. So there is something there, I thought. It was still, but on the other hand I still wasn't convinced, so I studied the Grunfeld defense quite well and found out that it wasn't so easy. Unfortunately I forgot the exact game of the 20 moves, but hey, that's like an internet blitz game. That's why today we're going to look at a game of the Grunfeld god. Well, at least for me, he's the Grunfeld god. It's Peter Svidler. He is playing against Alexander Beliavsky in the Gibraltar Masters 2009. And Beliavsky has around 80 ELO points less, so Svidler is actually playing for a win. And of course, that's what you will be doing as well. So have a look at Grunfeld's strategy here. Bishop g7, bishop c4, this is a classical main line. The other main line is with knight f3 and rook b1, but we're not covering that in our introductory video. c5, knight e2. The good thing about knight e2 is that bishop g4 can be stopped with f3. So the knight on e2 actually covers the d4 square better. On the other hand, the knight would be more active on f3 and would be more constructive in building a kingside attack. So that's a decision to make for white there. But bishop c4 is always played together with knight e2. Knight c6, putting more pressure on the d4 pawn. It almost seems like ping pong here. So you attack and white defends. Unfortunately, we don't have an attacker left here. Well, only e5, but that would be a nonsensical move. So castle kingside, and at this point I invite you to devise a plan on how to finish the black development. It's still a theoretical position, but still, even if you already know some line here or you're already familiar with the position, still take some minutes and take 20 minutes. That's actually a lot of time, but try to take 20 minutes and find a way how to arrange your pieces, and try to give every single piece a task. So I'm especially talking about the pieces that haven't been developed, so the queen, the rooks and the bishop on c8, and yeah, try to find some interesting plan there. So pause the video right now. At this point there are several plans for black. There's the main line, which is bishop g4, but today this is a very heavy theoretical line, except when after f3 you follow up with bishop d7, which is almost the same as the game, but with an extra f3 move, which can be strong or weak. Theory isn't out yet. This is very interesting, so I invite you to study this line carefully by yourself, or have a look at our course, of course. But usually after f3 they play knight a5, and here white has some options. Karpov used to play bishop takes f7 check and win a pawn like this. It's not a very solid pawn, but it's still a pawn. Play can proceed like this. A lot of Karpov-Kasparov games that went like this, and well, black has enough compensation for the pawn, and a lot of theoretical lines have already been found out, so a lot of memorization here. When we go back to this position, another move is bishop d3, where black will play c takes d4, c takes d4, bishop e6, trying to exchange the bishop or the knight on c4. And here white has another option. So there's rook c1, sacrificing the pawn on a2, and play might proceed like this, which is an interesting, complicated pawn sacrifice for white. I think black can still manage to hold here as well. And there's the exchange sacrifice d5, which is a very classical way to play. And well, it hasn't been played for some years, because all the theory is just every move has basically been played here, and yeah, so the variation has become boring. Still, you need to memorize 20 or no, well, from this point on you need to memorize at least 20 moves to hold a draw. And yeah, it's more like, if you're playing this variation, it's more like a school test, and it's not fun anymore. You just have to, well, memorize and see how well your opponent has memorized it. I've played some wonderful games with it as white, so I still recall some nice games. And it is definitely fun to play, but the play is out of it. So I would recommend something else. Although this still is a plan to develop. I mean, at first you're starting with harassing with the bishop on g4 and then putting it on e6. So first solving the problem of the bishop, then afterwards you're going to develop the rooks or give it back as an exchange sacrifice. So there are some other moves here. One of the most played plans here is bishop d7, and this is the Svidler variation. And well, this is great because the moves enables black to play for win, slowly developing more pressure against the white center, and the plan will slowly unfold. So the black queen will go to c7, the king's rook will go to d8, and the queen's rook will either go to c8 or b8. b8, of course, is only possible when the bishop on f4 can't be very nasty. White plays rook b1 in this game. Queen c7. By the way, this is also Queen c7 is also a plan on the previous move. You could have found that out, or you could even play that. It's a legitimate variation, Svidler plays it himself as well, but I feel that bishop d7 is slightly better. Queen c7 is actually a luring move, so you hope to lure the white bishop to f4 and then move your queen to c8, where it actually stands good as well, but then the defenses of d4 have weakened. So that's one of the plans. In this game, Beliavsky actually played an interesting move, knight f4. So maybe trying to hit the queen on d5 there. And the same reaction actually makes sense. Queen c8, bishop e2, black plays rook b8, slowly developing the rook and giving it a small task, freeing the queen by leaving her from the duty of protecting b7. Queen d2, also logical. Rook d8, very logical. Rook fc1, and at this point, after bishop e8, black has found a development scheme that works harmoniously. So the bishop is not the light squared bishop on e8 is not really in the way of any other piece. So that's a good thing. It's harmonious. It's aligned with the rest of the position. The queen on c8 stands well. Rook on d8 very well. And the rook on b8 also has a useful function. So what's happening is the d4 pawn is actually under a lot of pressure here. It has to do something, and Beliavsky succumbs to the pressure. So he plays d5, and this is a positive thing when that happens in the Grunfeld. So there's holes now on e5 where you can put the knight maybe in the future. Not right now, but somewhere in the future it will be a good move. We can still undermine the center with e6 sometime, or f5 can also be very interesting. And c3 will be weak. As you can see, the bishop is already shining to it, and the rook on c1 won't be very functional because the file won't be opened. And there you can see the rook on d8 is actually doing more than the rook on c1, and so we can conclude that black has already a nice position here. b6, queen b2. It's hard to find a plan here for white. It's knight a5. It's just very hard to play. So white will make mistakes. That's one of the funny things in chess. I mean, you can have a look at positions with the computer all the time, but if you don't know whether a position is more easy to play or not, you won't have a compass. So it's also very interesting to see for yourself if you know if the position is easy to play for you, and the computer won't say that. Queen a3, e5, vacating d6 as a blockading square for the knight. As you can see, if the knight would arrive on d6, it would be very strong, and white cannot allow that. So he took on e6, f takes e6. E6 pawn won't actually be very weak because the unemployed bishop will be employed on f7. Queen a4, and here I invite you for some minutes to find a nice plan for black, how to improve the pieces. So pause the video here and find a plan. Well, I'm not going to cover all the plans. I'm just going to show what Peter played, and because it's very instructive to see what to do in this position here, we can see the rook on b8 needs a task, the queen on c8 needs a better task, and the rook on d8, okay, it's only on an open file, but it can be improved. The bishops are good, the knight's good, so it automatically actually proposes doubling the rooks, and it's best to start with rook d6. The rook on c1 still can't move, because then c3 would drop, and so it's automatic that black can double the rooks here. h4, queen e8 is a strong move, because the queen is actually annoying on a4, and if we would be able to exchange the queens there, the rook on b8 would immediately get a function covering e6, and the c4 square would be amazing for the knight, probably guaranteeing a winning position immediately. So white naturally doesn't exchange it. Still, knight c4 is possible. Queen e2, knight e5, great square, bishop h3, rook bd8, queen a6, and queen e7, and now we can see a great improvement for black of all his pieces, and white really didn't do a lot. The h4 pawn is hanging, and it's hard to find anything to do still for white in this position. The rooks can't go to the d file anymore, and black's completely dominating the position. g3, knight f3, king g2, knight d2, bishop takes d2, rooks takes d2, bishop g4, bishop e5, knight h3, rook 8 d3, completely dominating, bishop e2, rook takes c3, and after knight g5 we have a position where the advantage is converted into a material advantage with the pawn. The game still took some moves, but the opening's definitely over now, so I'm going to stop the video here. The Grunfeld strategy was perfectly executed, undermining the center and picking up the resultant weaknesses afterwards. I hope you enjoyed the video, and for more info check out our new course, Mastering the Grunfeld as Black. I hope you have a nice day, and please subscribe to our channel.